Welcome to New Life Live with Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's today's host, Dr. Alice Benton.
Welcome to New Life Live, and it is such an honor to be joining with all of you listeners, you courageous callers, and Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris and Dr. Jim Burns. And we were saying before the show, we all just pinch ourselves that we get to do this with all of you because it is just such a great pleasure to be able to meet with you in this way. Jim, you have a teaching to share with us.
Yeah, just a little bit. You know, I also want to say you two are amazing, and I feel so fortunate to be able to sit in. I take notes on you all, so it's great. And you know, the Bible says, "Where there's no counsel, the people fall. In the multitude of counselors, there is safety." Mm-hmm. And you talked about the listeners who call. I'm so glad they call because they're really doing what the Bible says to do. And obviously, there's deeper therapy. We get them for a few minutes. But anyway, I wanted to talk quickly about something that happened last time I was on two programs. Half the callers had parent-adult-child estrangement, and I just hear that all the time. I hear it. It seems like people call every time I'm on about that. And it for one thing, they need to understand that it is at epidemic stages. It has changed. The numbers are different. 26% of adult children say that they are estranged from their dad. That's 1 out of 4. That's amazing. Not as much with mom, but still not good. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it because it's so painful and my heart breaks every time. There's extreme where they cut off, and we get those calls that we are totally cut off. I haven't talked to my adult child for 5 years. And usually it's the adult child who does it. Very seldom is it the parent. But there's also sometimes just an issue. And I want to speak to some of us who have maybe had that experience. I'm fortunate enough to not have adult children, but I haven't had that experience. But I'm going to tell you a quick story about somebody I talked to last week, and I thought about this with our listeners. So her daughter had cut her off, and it was because of politics. And I said, well, you're trying to make it better. How are you doing this? She goes, I need to convince her. I went, oh, no. You need to keep your mouth shut at this point. I said, with politics, you got somebody for like 4 years or, maybe 8 years, whatever. But your family is forever. So you got to make sure that probably isn't a conversation you want to have. And definitely you're not going to make your relationship better by saying but, or preaching or lecturing or things like that. And even with something that's important to her, which was politics, or sometimes with faith issues, we do that. So many other types of issues. So, my points are this. Does it really matter? I mean, in terms of conflict, I've done this with my wife for all of our marriage. There are things that matter. And things like, and this isn't in our life, but abuse, alcoholism, all those kinds of things, adultery, whatever, that matters. But some things just don't matter as much. And so we can't keep coming back at them. So I think actually what we do is have to understand, why did they do this? And sometimes people don't know. And if you don't know, you got to find out. But crisis is self-defined, always. When I was a youth pastor, I used to say, look, there's major crisis, and then there's the 15-year-old girl or guy who has a pimple on their face, and that's a crisis to them. So there's some kind of crisis took over. So what is that crisis? And then begin to repair, not by dealing with the issues as much as just cheering them on, loving on them, being generous, being caring. That conversation will come, but not usually in the heat of the battle.
I say, to help myself as a mother as well, that we can either correct our children or we can connect with them, and we have to correct them, but doing as little as possible, both when they're young and especially when they're past 18. We really don't have much of a footing to keep correcting our children. And actually, choosing connection makes it more likely that we'll be able to influence them more by our behavior than by our words, which may end up correcting something that we're concerned about. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Jim. We'll be taking calls when we come back from the break. Katie, I see you calling from Colorado Springs. Hold on. We'll be back to talk with you after.
I had been in porn addiction. My past had not been found out at all. Yet I had hit a point in my life where it was time.
Men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. The Everyman's Battle Intensive can help.
I never divulged what I'd been doing.
Find help today at New Life's Everyman's Battle Intensive.
This is a place that changed my life in such a positive way for Christ, because I could be the Christian man that I'm called to be.
Now the intensive is coming to Dallas, Texas, December 6th through the 8th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I cannot say enough what it does in the Christian community for not just men, for their children, for their wives.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back, and I'm here with Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris, Dr. Jim Burns. I am Alice Benton, and we will be taking your calls. Katie, calling from Colorado Springs, Colorado, listening online. I think your question might kind of fit with what Dr. Jim was teaching us. Welcome to New Life. How can we help you?
Thanks so much. Yeah, I was just listening, and it does, I think it does connect a lot. I am working really hard, and I feel like I'm not doing a good job of trying to connect with my 20-year-old daughter who identifies as gay. And we had a conflict recently where she had invited, or I had asked her to, if she wanted to invite one of her friends over for dinner, and she did, and I felt like we had a really good time. And then afterwards, the next day, I kind of contacted her, and I was just kind of asking some questions about it was probably a mistake, but asking, some questions about the relationship, and she got so angry at me and, sort of unloaded, things like, you always make me uncomfortable when I try to bring a friend over. I'm never going to bring a friend over again. I don't understand. This is really, it's painful when you do this. You always do this. You always did this in high school. That kind of thing. And it broke my heart because I feel like I've tried to be really, and I have loved her friends. So, and I've never, been unkind or been, do you know what I mean? Like, I've welcomed her to bring people home, and it sort of cut me to the core. And I just feel like I don't know how to lean in, and I don't know. She's my only daughter. And it just is hard because I feel like, if I were on the other, if she was dating boys, I would ask questions about that. So it's, and I am a Christian, so, she knows I'm trying to accept it without agreeing with, and that's really complicated. And I just feel like I'm making a mess out of everything, and I just really love her, and I'm it just is kind of breaking my heart because I feel like I don't know how to connect and how to how to be loving and supportive and all those things, and I it's just really hard.
Well, Katie, I think something to remember is that exactly what you just said. The whole time you were talking, I thought, well, even if it had been a boy, like, you'd still be asking those questions, and you still, you asked those questions and were curious. When she was in high school, she's struggling with some stuff, and it seems as though she may be projecting some fear onto you. She has an expectation of how you would show up in that dinner, and she's decided what you think. And so then when you call and ask questions, she takes those questions to be statements about something else, right? So if you're saying, tell me about that friendship, she's hearing, how dare you be with this person? Is this the right kind of person for you, right? So she's translating the conversations differently than you intend. So I would be curious with her and ask her to share with me, what are you hearing me say? Can we get to a place where we can comfort circle, where you can mirror back to me And I can know that you understood what I was sharing, and I want to do the same for you. I want to make sure I'm understanding your intent rather than getting upset and trying to invalidate, I didn't do that. I wouldn't do that. That wasn't me. I usually, with my adult children, will listen, validate what they are saying, and then grieve with them. I hate that you had an emotionally unavailable mother and a deployed father. That had to be awful for you. And then once we've talked about the things that I didn't do well, they can also come back around and recognize, wow, that must have been hard for you to have these 2 little babies and a husband who wasn't home because he was deployed and you were young and living in a new place. So they can connect with the other side, but they first need to be validated for what they experienced. So even if you didn't intend to create that energy in her, she still experienced it. And you being open to the conversation and validating her experience, I think, is important. Trying a comfort circle with her, I think, can help with the communication.
Okay.
By the way,
I like that idea. I did want to mention too. I mean, I don't want to make myself sound completely like no fault, because I am anxious about the fact that she's in this lifestyle, and it is scary for me, and I grieve it because she's my only daughter. And I know that when she was younger, I could kind of tell things were going on, and I would ask questions just because I didn't know what was happening. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I just feel like I know that I can project some anxiety and fear about things too. And I would
acknowledge that with her. I would acknowledge that. That might be what you're picking up, and I'm doing the best I can right now. This is hard for me. It's your life and your choices, and I love you, and I'm not going anywhere. But I'm struggling, and that's my stuff. I don't mean to project that on you. So thank you for letting me know that you're feeling it and it's making it difficult.
Yeah. Katie, you just got some incredible advice from Jacqui. Even as she's talking about projecting, your daughter is projecting things, no doubt. But also she knows what you believe. She knows how you feel. And so what she may think is rejection by you isn't. And so sometimes you just have to absolutely help her understand that. I think, since she knows what you believe and she knows how you feel, you're going to have to learn to agree to disagree. And you can probably do that better than she can at 20 years old, because she's still trying to figure out who she is. Her identity is not even formed. She may change her mind even with how she identifies. So what you want to do is still be that safe parent. Now, there's a couple things, like I always want with my girls, they had their boyfriends, and then they'd come over and I would call and ask for feedback. I'd talk about, I want some feedback, and sometimes I get the rolled eyes, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes maybe it's better to not ask for even get feedback. Just say, hey, I had a lovely evening with y'all. And the other thing that might be very beneficial is to not give them a chance to react because you didn't bring up, some things just have to go unspoken during this time period. Why I say that, and we're also saying, get help, talk to her about, this stuff. But sometimes it's just better for us to kind of say, I really enjoyed your friend. She's neat. You can do that because your daughter already knows what you believe and how you feel. So we broaden the relationship to let her see that you're not a one-topic parent in this, because what's breaking your heart is her sexual identity, frankly, and partly the way she is treating you and whatnot. But now we've got to broaden the relationship so that if she crashes, when something goes haywire, she'll still feel safe enough to come to you because she knows, what, Mom doesn't even agree with me, but she loves me. The bottom line for your daughter is, do you still love me? And so we can have tough love where some of the consequences of her poor choices will take place. But that's the bottom line. Do you still love me? And yeah, you're going to have boundaries, because one time she's going to say, can we stay overnight, or things like that, and you'll have to make those decisions. But she needs to know and be assured that you love her, and you do. You've expressed it well. And sometimes have some of those little sneak-in conversations about, is it possible that you're projecting more because I sure love you? And learn, help her learn some of these kinds of things. So anyway, just some thoughts. But I thought you got great counsel from Jacqui.
Katie, I think you don't give yourself enough credit.
Yeah,
you said, I don't know how to lean in. And then we saw all the ingredients of leaning in. So just making sure to be a prolonged listener and withhold the defense of why you do the things you do. Don't explain to her why you ask the questions and why you're curious. Just find out about her experience of you. And we want to get you connected to a group because you really need to be able to weep and gnash your teeth and be upset with other parents who can understand you. And so that may be in one of our New Life recovery groups that we have all over the country, accessible to anyone that wants to join them. And I also know that Saddleback Church specializes in having parenting groups for children who are questioning their identity, questioning their sexuality. And so we want to get you connected to that. Katie, we're so grateful that you had the courage to call in, and we're going to send you a resource. Jim, talk about your book here. Why would that be good?
Well, doing life with your adult children actually has it's funny that you said Saddleback too, because a pastor at Saddleback actually called me. His daughter was gay, and it's the story of how they work through this process. And it's actually a good, not a perfect ending, but a good ending because he loved her and embraced her, even though he didn't agree with her. And, I'll let you read the book. But the story is, how do we deal with somebody when they violate our values, when they stray from our faith, and still show them the love of God? And Jacqui, you said it. You got to have some community in there. Or you can't do that alone. Yeah. So you got to have people cheering you on because you're going to make some hard decisions. But you still, I think Jesus always led with love, and I think we have to lead with love. And kindness matters. And what we want to say is, "Are you kidding me?" But it's not we're not the Holy Spirit in this case. We're mom. So, Katie, I think you're awesome. I think you're a great mom. I think you're doing a great job.
And Katie, I think it might be helpful for you to take your anxiety to a therapist because your questioning of her was you trying to resolve your anxiety, and that might be what she's been talking about, what she was referring to when she said you've done this since she was in high school. And so it's your anxiety trying to get an understanding, but it just makes her feel like you maybe don't see her or believe in her or understand her.
We have a network of Christian counselors all across the country, and any of you can access that. They are well vetted. They believe in the New Life principles, and they have expertise in helping. So we will get you connected. Katie, stay on the line. But anyone that needs a counselor, you can call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE to get a name of a clinician in your area. We want to welcome Jennifer now to the show. Jennifer, calling from Philly, Pennsylvania, listening on the podcast, which anybody can also access by downloading the New Life app. Jennifer, thank you for listening and calling in. How can we help you?
Thank you so much for taking my call today. I have a question about my husband and I need wisdom about navigating the digital world with our kids. We live in a situation that I feel like has become extremely uncommon, which is that we don't own a TV in our house. We don't have a home internet connection. And while my husband has a smartphone, I do not. And we're honestly really happy with our current arrangement. We really enjoy it, and our kids don't complain about it or anything. But our kids they're almost 7 and almost 9. And my concern, I'm feeling an increasing burden that, it's obviously they're going to encounter that technology and need to know how to use it responsibly in their adult lives. And we're the ones who really need to be able to teach and model that for them. And we can't model what what we don't have. And so it's kind of this situation where I'm like, I don't really want to change the way we're doing things, but I also am wondering at what point do we really need to start considering how we need to incorporate some of these things more into our lives.
Quick question. Are you homeschooling?
No.
That's a Dr. Alice question.
We're surprised then that you're not hearing complaints from your children because even at such young ages, we know most of the kids in their classes have devices. So that is very interesting.
And a lot of things the school requires them to have devices for, too.
Yes. What was that, Jennifer?
They go to a small private school. Okay. And as far as I know, in their classes, none of their classmates have any technology on them like that.
Jennifer, do you know that cats can learn to use an iPad quite well, quite effectively?
No.
Truly, they can. And
I did not know that. No.
They learn quickly. Just Google YouTube videos of
That's
it.
hilarious.
The reason I bring it up is that you don't have to be concerned that your children will not quickly adapt to using devices when the time is right. Even a cat can do so. Even very young children can. So that really is not an issue. In fact, the research says the longer we wait to introduce devices to our children, particularly a smartphone, the longer we wait, the better, even stretching out to high school. So if there are no complaints within your family, ride that wave, girl. Enjoy that serenity. There is plenty of time to introduce your children to devices. Steve and I wrote a book, Understanding and Loving Your Child in a Screen-Saturated World. And in there, we outline different ways to enjoy screens as a family to do exactly what you're saying, modeling. We'll be right back after this message.
When you give to the New Life Scholarship Fund, you're giving someone hope for a brighter future.
I was kind of in the closet and hid with my struggle. Your donation really made the difference, especially in my situation, because I ended up getting laid off from my job.
At the New Life Intensives, hurting people are able to begin a new path towards healing and freedom that has an effect on all of those around them.
I think the people who support New Life financially are people that I'll never know. I'll never be able to thank them personally for the gift that they gave to us. Their giving saved me, my husband, and our family from being torn apart.
To help hurting people to connect to the help they need, make your gift to the Scholarship Fund at newlife.com or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE and specifying scholarships.
Someone called and sponsored me to come this weekend. Whoever that is, just know that you saved a life. Literally, you saved my life.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Club New Life changes lives.
You guys came along into my life in 2022. That was a really, really difficult year of my life.
You can help New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people by joining Club New Life today.
I began to really process a lot of things that I've needed to for a long time, and y'all were a very big part of that.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
I came out of it having never experienced anything like that, and y'all were there.
Join today and help continue the message of hope to a troubled world.
I knew I had to keep going, and I joined Club New Life, and y'all have been the resource that has now been a light for my wife and I.
Go to newlife.com/CNL, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places.
Keep doing what you do because it makes a difference.
newlife.com/CNL. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We were talking with Jennifer, who called with a very unusual situation these days. Almost no technology in her home and no complaints. That's the real kicker. Jim, you were going to say
Well, there
something.
will be some complaints, Jennifer. I just want to tell you as your kids get older. But Jennifer, I'm going to give you the New Life Listener Caller of the Year award, or at least the day. And the reason is because what I heard you say is they're 7 and 9, they're not doing it awesome, great. But you also said it's our job to prepare them because the world, when they're adults, are going to be using them. And I'm going to call this digital discipleship. Mm-hmm. And so there will eventually, you'll know the time, when you help them have digital discipleship. You don't have to give them a personal phone. I tell people when the kids are younger to have a family phone. It doesn't even have to, at the beginning, be connected to the internet. But have a family phone so they can learn this, because your job is to teach them. I mean, hey, listen to this. Bill Gates didn't give his kids a phone until they were 14 to 16. Well, that says something about people who understand the internet. And you know what? You're giving them, I hope you're giving her your book, Understanding and Loving Your Child in a Screen-Saturated World. I love that book. You and I did a podcast on it. It's a fabulous book. So get a plan together. Right now they're in a bubble. And the bubble works for a while. And that's probably the reason why Jacqui asked if they were homeschooled. But eventually you're going to have to now teach them to learn to discern, because you want to prepare them for adulthood. And if you don't, then, it could crash around them because they're not going to have the skill set to do this. So that's all I wanted to add to it. But yeah, digital discipleship is what you want to kind of be about. And what's going to help you is Dr. Alice's book.
Some rules of thumb based on the research: wait until high school to give children a smartphone, and it's better to not give them internet access, waiting as long as you can on a phone. And wait for social media until at least 16 years old because of the emotional maturation process. If we introduce it earlier, our children do not have the self-control and they don't have the emotional stability to handle that kind of access. And that's why we're seeing anxiety and depression, self-harm, and suicidal thinking just increasing drastically since 2010. So well done, Jennifer. Our book does address those who have given access too quickly and how to pull back from that, which is really tricky, but we help you work through it. Steve and I do in our book. Thank you, Jennifer, for calling. I want to welcome now Tina to the program, calling from Phoenix, Arizona. Was referred to New Life by a friend. Tina, thank you for calling in. What is going on for you today?
Oh, I have a question. I hope it's not a silly question. I have a question. Is it okay for a married man to have a long meeting alone with the woman in the office, work office? The closed door?
It is not a silly question. Is this situation personally affecting you?
Yes, badly.
How so?
Because it's going on. I found out a lot of things that, like cheating stuff, like emotional adultery, and try to tell him you're not supposed to do that, but he said I'm exaggerating. He said it's a work. I said no, it's not a work. Like 2 hours in the room. He said we have a meeting only by yourself and the woman. I don't think that's a good idea.
Tina, your question is of high importance, not silly at all, and I'm sad you even have to question that. Let us help you.
Tina, again, it's hard because it's a marriage issue for you. And yeah, emotional affairs happen. Emotional adultery happens all the time. And so it's better to have boundaries. And, I have deep boundaries with what I do. So if I'm going to have a meeting with a woman in my office, for one thing, there are windows. So, it's never a closed, an absolute closed door. But I always ask for somebody to stay. If I had somebody in later than, say, our office hours, we actually pay somebody to stay in that office. I don't have meals. I drive, I speak and travel, so I don't have a woman pick me up. And you know what? I have friends. These two wonderful people here are women who are friends and are wonderful. But I just have to have those boundaries. Who helped me create those boundaries was Kathy. Now, again, I'm more motivated maybe to do it than your husband, but it's just a boundary. And I remember a woman picked me up one time when I was coming into a city, and we asked that they don't, but that happened. And so I just called Kathy and said, yeah, I'm here driving over to the hotel, and so-and-so just picked me up. And I let her know that there was a woman who picked me up. Now, that doesn't mean that if he's having 2-hour meetings in a closed door that bad stuff is happening. But if he's open to it, it's very important that he changes some of those boundaries, and it's out there. You can go online. You can find people who live with those kinds of more healthy boundaries. And if he's open to hearing that, he may not want to listen to you, but he may listen to all the different people. Billy Graham, different people who have those kind of boundaries.
And I just want to encourage you. It is so great that you were able to bring it up to your husband and talk to him about it, but also caution you. I'm a therapist. I sit in an office with a closed door with a man for 2 hours daily, right? So you have to know what's going on. There's probably more to this.
Yeah.
And what really stands out is that he doesn't sound like he's taking your fear into consideration. He's not comforting you. He's not addressing that this is frightening to you. So we're going to send you How We Love, because it will help you to open up this topic in a non-attacking way, asking your husband to listen to your heart. It will teach him to do so, but also will help you to be a listener to him. And we're certainly hoping this does not mean infidelity. When we come back, we'll talk about what do you do if it does mean there's emotional infidelity.
I had been in porn addiction. My past had not been found out at all, yet I had hit a point in my life where it was time.
Men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. The Every Man's Battle Intensive can help.
I never divulged what I'd been doing.
Find help today at New Life's Every Man's Battle Intensive.
This is a place that changed my life in such a positive way for Christ, because I could be the Christian man that I'm called to be.
Now the intensive is coming to Dallas, Texas, December 6th through the 8th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I cannot say enough what it does in the Christian community for not just men, for their children, for their wives.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We've been talking with Tina, who has concerns about how her husband is spending time with other women behind closed doors under the guise of business, but she doesn't feel safe in this relationship with what's going on.
Yeah, in our marriage, my husband's a pastor, and we've been in church ministry a while, and I was a nurse. And so I learned that the doctor doesn't go into the room, or the pastor doesn't go into the room with a woman without another woman, and vice versa. A woman should have a male partner in there. And so we've developed a system of, if he sees it and says something to me, I listen. If I see it and say something to him, he listens. We're not going to argue about it. It just is what it is. He has boy eyes. I have girl eyes. He notices things I don't notice, and I notice things he doesn't notice. And so our trust in each other is in the fact that we just will listen. It doesn't have to, I don't have to believe it. I don't have to think that guy is, maybe trying to come on to me. If my husband says it feels inappropriate, he's right. It feels inappropriate, and we make a shift. And so we'd love for you to get to that place with your husband. It doesn't sound like he's able to hear you right now, though. So it might be helpful for you guys to attend Intimacy in Marriage if he would be willing.
Mm-hmm. I think almost any of our intensives would serve you and your husband, because if infidelity is taking place, asking him to go to Every Man's Battle would serve him. Intimacy in Marriage, emotional freedom, any of these would start to crack open that distance between the two of you where there is a lack of consideration from him to your heart. So please dig into the How We Love book. You can even invite your husband by saying, we're missing each other, and I really could use some reassurance. Would you read this book with me, and can we practice some of what is in it, particularly the comfort circle? So Tina, that is coming your way, How We Love by Mylan and Kay Yurkovich. And thank you for calling. Londa, I want to welcome you to the program. You are a Club New Life member, and we are so grateful that you are. That means you're part of the group of people that gives to New Life every month. We're grateful you do. And when a Club New Life member calls, they have priority on our call list. So, Londa, welcome. You're calling from Ashland, Nebraska, listening on KCRO. Thank you, and how can we help you?
Oh, it's lovely to hear you all. I come because my 15-year-old grandson is transgendering, and I don't know how to navigate that.
Londa, where are the parents in this? Are they allowing this? Do they know about it?
Yes.
Are hormones already happening? Are they doing some hormone changes? What's going on?
Yes. Parents have allowed it. They seem to support it. There are hormone changes involved. I know he uses different underwear, uses makeup, but it's an elephant in the room in terms of telling us that this was happening. We've just kind of come upon it by observation, and we don't see them often, maybe 3 times a year. They live away, and I will see them soon. So I thought of you all first.
Thank you for letting us come alongside you. This is a situation that more and more families are experiencing, and it's so difficult to know as a Christian grandparent, how do I love, but what amount of truth do I bring to my children and my grandchild?
Yeah. It's so hard because I'm sure you're concerned and you want to say something. Have you had a conversation with them at all about how you feel about what's going on?
No.
Okay.
No. And I every now and then I entertain a resentment toward his parents for being so approving.
Yeah. And I think
no conversation.
Okay. I actually think that that's probably the wisest thing right now, so that you don't create more separation and have less contact and influence in his life. And just that you have some place to go to grieve the change that's happening too. Are you in therapy or in any small groups that you can process this with other people?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I'm going to add a couple of things. I actually just have a book that just came out called A Student's Guide to Sexual Integrity. It's actually for students that age. And one of the chapters is called Culture, Gender, and Authority. One of my concerns is that at 15, this young man, he still hasn't formed his identity, and his brain hasn't even finished growing. And so my concern with the hormones and things like that is that these are long-term changes to what might be a short-term identity shift. And so I have deep concerns about those kinds of things. But so and my feeling is that we're listening to the voices of culture, which change. My goodness. It was just a couple of years ago that, this wouldn't have been the issue. And not to the voice of authority. I mean, the Bible's pretty clear that, we were created in the image of God. We were created male and female. There's different things. But I agree with Jacqui that we actually are to what we want to do is show love to this young man. And I'm not even sure you bring it up to the young man as much as you bring it up to the parents to simply say, hey, I'm confused and I'm conflicted. That does not mean I don't love you and I don't love, my grandson or whatever's going to happen on that. But I am confused and conflicted. Help me understand. But at the same time, you have to understand that I'm going to love this boy unconditionally because God loves him unconditionally. But if I was you, I would probably not make it the major drama because I don't know that that's going to work. But I would say and you don't see them that often, but you say, I'm confused and conflicted on why you're allowing this to happen at this time. There's a lot of research right now, and you should see the research coming out of England, where in England, they're basically stopping this when kids are this age, because let's take girls, at 13, they used to cut themselves and they used to have eating disorders. They still do, obviously. And no one thought that was a good idea. But a lot of people embrace this transgender so much so that they're moving into the hormone stage. I'm deeply concerned about that. What people do as adults, I have my opinions. I think they might be forfeiting their spiritual purpose. But it's this son. And so that's why I would say I'm confused and conflicted. And I would want to then hear, have they really thought through this, or are they just kind of going along to the voice of the culture that actually may change? In England, I got my PhD in England, so I'm very involved with the academic research in England. What's fascinating about England is that they shifted much before we did in the United States. Now they're shifting back, saying, don't rush it. Like in my book that I write to kids, I say, do not rush this. And, when I was getting my research, I was looking at gender dysphoria, and it was boys who were like little, not girls. Now it's more girls and more 15-year-old guys. So there's a cultural shift. And so I worry about it. So again, whenever I want to talk to somebody, but I don't want to come hammer them too hard, is I just go, hey, I'm kind of confused and conflicted on this. Help me understand. That way, you're being invited into the discussion, maybe, if they don't just put their hands up. And you sound like a wonderful person, Londa, who could kind of handle some of this. And you're still going to love that 15-year-old because, again, he's moving toward a lifestyle that is going to quite possibly cause deep depression, deep anxiety, deep confusion, and deep identity issues. But
in something that might have resolved itself, things happen, and we have mutations in DNA and all of that. I'm concerned at putting a child on hormones when they're not sure of their identity. I was a tomboy, and in today's culture, that would have meant I should be a boy.
You might have been fast-tracked into this same kind of treatment.
And I'm a recovering emotional avoider. So for the first half of my marriage, I would say I'm the boy in the relationship. Yeah. So that kind of language in the culture we're in right now almost says, well, then you're in the wrong body and you should change it. And so having that happen so early is just really what concerns me. Your brain's not even fully formed yet, and now it's going to be formed on these hormones. And so to have the conversation and say, I'm confused about why you let it happen so soon when he's still in such a big developmental stage.
Right. Londa, prioritize increasing the frequency of your contact from 3 times a year to a whole lot more, with the priority of loving and building relationships, so that somewhere down the road, the Holy Spirit will show you when do you bring a bit of truth into that. Because Proverbs does tell us, 24:11, rescue those being led away to death. But Jesus knew how to perfectly balance loving and when to bring truth. And sometimes the love had to come so that the truth could be received a little bit later. And thank you for being a Christian grandmother who cares about this enough to call. We're also going to send you Dr. Jim Burns' book, Doing Life with Your Adult Children, to better equip you with how to love them well and how to speak into their lives at the right time and place. And we will be right back after a brief message to take more calls.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family, or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step towards genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. There are so many ways that New Life can help you in addition to our radio show, and calling us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE when we're on the air and when we're off the air can get you connected with the right clinician, coach, intensive recovery group, and free advice on the program. And we're so grateful to you calling to the show. So thank you. Going back to the calls, Tanya, we want to welcome you. You're calling from Pennsylvania, listening on Sirius XM. Thank you for calling. Welcome to the show. How can we help you?
Hi. Well, I was calling about my daughter. I have a estranged relationship with her, and it's been about 3 years. And I've been trying over and over and over to fix it, and it's like a dead end. She just won't have anything to do with my husband I don't know. It's just the whole situation's crazy that I don't know. I don't know how to handle it, I guess. And
Tanya, has she told you why she cut you all off?
Well, I know why. She had just had her baby, and she was starting cosmetology school, and her truck had broke down, and so she called my husband and I, or sent us a text message. It's like, hey, can anyone take me to school? My truck's broke down, and we were like, well, we're at work, but call Nana and ask Nana. And so she called my mom, and she was all crying because her boyfriend, they lived together, and she asked him to take her, and he's like, I don't have any gas. And he just rolled back over and went to bed. So she was very upset, which in response it upset us because we were like, wow, this is her second day of school. She's trying to better herself, blah, blah, blah. But we didn't say anything. And then when we got home from work, we went over to her house so that we could, me, my husband, my mom, and my son, we all went over there so that we could try to fix her truck for her to see what was wrong or whatever. And her boyfriend, his best friend, and my daughter pulled up, and they just go inside, and the boyfriend and his best friend don't say anything. They just walk by, and she's like, I'll be out in a little bit. I got to go pump, for the baby. And we're like, okay. So about 20, 30 minutes later, the boyfriend doesn't even come out to help. Nobody comes out. So we're getting upset, wow, we came over here to try to help, and there's not even any kind of courtesy, anything. So my husband gets upset, and he goes inside the house.
Tanya, did this lead to a big rupture? Was there a big crisis that day?
Well, he went into the house, and it led to a fist fight, basically,
between your husband and the boyfriend?
Yes. Okay. And so then he goes in there. So I follow him in there because I'm like, this is not a good idea,
And
trying to get him out.
I'm going to ask a couple questions. Pardon me for interrupting. Did the police get involved?
My daughter was calling the police, so I was obviously is screaming like, let's go, let's get out of here, because I was trying to pull them apart and I didn't want that. I didn't want any. Yeah, it was a mess.
There was chaos. So I'm going to jump to another question. What has your husband done to address what took place, even though a lot of this is on the boyfriend, but what has your husband done to try to repair with your daughter?
Well, he, at first, not very much, because he was so upset, and which still don't make it right. He might have been right in theory of defending her honor, because the boyfriend drove a half an hour to go pick his best friend up, but yet he couldn't take the mother of his child to school. So my husband was very upset, but he's very military and very gruff. So the way he comes about it comes across wrong and very rough. But anyways, we didn't really get a chance to try to talk to them right away. Well, I did, but she kind of cut us off right away. She blocked our phone number. She blocked us from...
So Tanya, we're going to jump in. You're describing the situation very clearly, and you're wondering what to do now when your husband has done little to repair and your daughter is unwilling to talk with you. Do I have that right?
Right.
Okay.
You do. I mean, he did see her.
Tanya, we're going to give you some advice because we want to help you. We're coming towards the end of the show.
We're almost out of time, so.
Okay. I mean, he did try to talk to her at my son's wedding.
Tanya, I'm going to pause you. Jim has some advice to give you. Go ahead, Jim.
You know what? Even though the boyfriend he sounds horrible. I'm sorry. I'm just being blunt. And, because of the fist fight, and, maybe I'm not saying it was deserved, but, I think somewhere in there that your husband's going to have to say, I would not do it this way again, this way, because again, you want to build the relationship with your daughter. There's a very good chance that your daughter and that boyfriend are not going to stay together forever and ever. I mean, it just doesn't sound like that's the case, but if they did, then there's going to be no relationship. So I think you've got to repair was the word that I believe Alice used. You've got to repair the relationship by swallowing its pride because you were giving and serving and caring, but just to say, you know what, we would do it differently this time, and we'd like to, slowly but surely move back in to the relationship. We'd like to have a relationship with this child, our grandchild, and we will not, butt in unless there's physical danger to your life or to the grandchild's life, and that may be just enough because she wants a relationship with you. I would imagine it just might be enough to at least open the door. And it's one of those, you apologize even though, the other guy's probably not going to do it. The boyfriend probably doesn't have that kind of character.
This has been 3 years now, and she used to live in the same town as me, and I've gone over there several times to try to talk to her, and every time I think that there's hope. And then the next day the boyfriend will be like, don't you ever come over to my house again. He'll send me a really nasty message. And so there was a time where they had split up, and I didn't even know this.
So Tanya,
yes,
I know that there's so much you want to share with us, and I'm wondering if you're in therapy. Do you have a counselor of your own? You have a lot you need to talk about and process. Are you meeting with a therapist?
I'm not, but I definitely probably should.
I think a therapist and a life recovery group would be great for you, and they could help you talk through some of what you and your husband are experiencing.
And Tanya, if you're concerned for your daughter's safety or the baby's safety, because this man sounds like he's capable of a whole lot of damage and poor decisions, if it's extreme, you can always call Child Protective Services to have a social worker go to your daughter's home and just talk with her and just get a sense of the safety of the home, the safety of the baby. And so I certainly hope it's not that extreme of a situation, but if it is, the authorities can go in and they can evaluate. You make me think, Tanya, of Proverbs 15:1. A soft word turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. And your daughter's boyfriend sure stirs up a lot of anger and sometimes righteous anger. So your willingness and possibly your husband's willingness to look for what can we genuinely apologize about? I mean, because a false apology won't get you very far. But any genuine apology of we wish we'd handled this differently. Can we reestablish relationship with you? That soft word can bring in grace that everybody in this situation needs. We're going to send you How We Love Our Kids, which will help you phrase and script what to say and how to listen to your daughter. We're so grateful for everyone that called and all of our supporters. We'll see you next time on New Life Live.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE. But when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.